Welcome everyone to this info session on studying abroad at Oxford and Cambridge universities. I think for those of you, probably many of you are familiar with the two institutions, and you probably understand then why we put them together for this info session. They're obviously both, very old and prestigious institutions, very competitive in terms of admissions, and they have a very unique educational system. The tutorial system at Oxford and the supervision system at Cambridge. And I think we started with these two images because I think it illustrates very well the similarities as well as some of the differences between the two. So we have here two Pembroke colleges, Pembroke College, Cambridge on the left of the screen and Pembroke College, Oxford on the right. They are, I think, very similar in some ways, and also you can see some differences. And I think that'll, be the theme as we go through this presentation. You'll see that they are very similar in many ways, and there are also some differences. And I should note that these aren't the only colleges at the two institutions that share a name. There's several. There's two Trinity colleges. There's two St. John's colleges. There's a Jesus College of both. There's a Magdalen College at Oxford and a Magdalene College in Cambridge. So I don't know why, but it seems like, 600 to 800 years ago, they weren't as creative in terms of their names. But so interesting to note that. Now, before we go any further, though, I did want to just start with some introductions. So I'm Giorgio Di Mauro. I'm the Associate Provost for International Initiatives in the Office of the Provost. My colleague, Krista Rockholt, is here as well. And Krista, would you like to introduce yourself briefly? Hopefully I don't have to unmute you again. Or...
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Krista Rockholt. I'm the Associate Director of Study Abroad. I work with Giorgio and happy to see you all and talk more about Oxford and Cambridge.
And we also have a few return students who were abroad at both Oxford and Cambridge last year. We're very pleased that they were able to join us to talk a bit about their experiences. Perhaps if those students, let's see, I'm just based on my images on the screen. Elizabeth, maybe would you like to go first? Do you need me to unmute you again? Okay, hang on, let me try and do that.
There we go. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm a senior at Barnard studying classics, and I studied at Corpus Christi College, Cambridge, Oxford, sorry. Corpus Christi last year.
Thank you. Let's see, Maddie, maybe you can go next. Did I unmute you? No, I'm going to try that again. Did that work? Okay. No.
Sorry, I realized I'd locked my keyboard because my kitten likes to walk across and then end my Zoom calls. I'm Maddie. I'm a senior studying history, and I was at Pembroke College, Cambridge, for the spring semester, a very eventful spring semester.
Right. And let's see, Lan, I see you next. Can you?
Yeah, hi, I'm Lon. I'm also a senior. I was at Mansfield College at Oxford for the whole year, and I studied history, economics, and English there.
And Allison?
Hi, I'm Allison. I'm also senior, and I was with Maddie at Pembroke College, Cambridge, for the first 2 months of the spring semester.
Right. So thank you all for coming, and we'll be asking for your input as we go through this session, and then also for the question and answer period. I should also note that there are other students that were at both Oxford and Cambridge last year, and you can and they're happy to be contacted. And in fact, we had a student at each of the colleges that we partner with. You'll find a list of all the students who were abroad last year on our website. So if you go to the Study Abroad website and go to the Getting Started tab, there's a link to a list of all the students who are brought. So you need to put in your ID number to access it, but that's a place where you can go if you're interested to hear from some of the other students. Again, we've got someone for each of the colleges. Now, just a quick overview of the two universities. Oxford was founded in somewhere around 1096. It's actually not the oldest university in the world. That honor goes to the University of Bologna in Italy, but it is the second oldest continually operating university in the world. Cambridge was founded a little later, but still very early in 1209, which makes it the fourth oldest university. If you're wondering what the third oldest is, that's the University of Salamanca in Spain. So very, very old institutions. Both of them are made up of a set of colleges, 39 in the case of Oxford, 31 in the case of Cambridge. And these colleges are, largely independent in many ways from each other. They have their own administration. They run their own admissions in many ways, and they hire their own faculty. But they all operate under the umbrella of the Central University, and the academic departments are all part of that Central University. And so, faculty are also affiliated with departments, while also being based in a college. And one of the things that we recommend you do as you're exploring the colleges that we're partnered with is to also look at the department or departments that you're interested in, because that's another way to kind of get information for your application. There are quite a few departments, 58 in the case of Oxford, over 100 academic departments at Cambridge. They just organized in different ways. There are 49 undergraduate majors, or what they call courses, at Oxford, 30 at Cambridge. And that can be a little misleading because I think for us, of course, courses mean something else entirely. So when you're kind of looking at department pages, just be aware that a course refers to essentially a major. And what we think of as courses are usually referred to as papers at Cambridge and Oxford, often maybe modules in other universities. But that's an important distinction. So we partner with specific colleges at Oxford. At Cambridge, there's really one college that, that has an active visiting student program, and that's Pembroke College at Cambridge. At Oxford, we have longstanding ties with the 5 colleges listed here: Corpus Christi, Mansfield, Oriel, Pembroke, and St. Peter's. So these are your options for study at the 2 universities. Now, I thought I would just briefly show you visually where these colleges are located, really just mainly to say that they are very centrally located. So these are the 5 circled colleges that we're affiliated with at Oxford. Just to give you a sense, if you kind of here in the middle, this is the Radcliffe camera, which is part of the Bodleian Library. And actually, if I go back, actually, Krista took this photo of the Radcliffe camera. So that's kind of considered in many ways the heart of Oxford University. So as you can see, the colleges are all kind of, grouped around that and are within, walking or at least, specifically biking distance, which I think is how most people get around. So all kind of close in and easily accessible. I wonder if, I don't know if any of our Oxford students want to mention anything about kind of distance and sort of getting around, how that worked for all of you. And again, I don't know if I need to unmute you or not. If anyone, does anyone have anything they want to add about that?
I guess with Mansfield, you're living 15 minutes to 30 minutes away from the college. And so you should think about like where you're living as well, because sometimes it's not actually on the college itself. And oftentimes you won't actually go to college that often because your classes or what you do aren't really based in college. So you're going to kind of be going all over Oxford, and it's a really, really small town. So you don't really need to worry about distance wise.
Yeah, that's a great point, London, because the housing varies, particularly in Mansfield, right? They have a set of sort of, almost like private kind of private housing, right? That they contract with. Did you use a bike to get around?
No, I didn't. I had there were 40 visiting students at Mansfield, and some of them used a bike. I didn't. I didn't feel safe biking. Like I didn't feel comfortable enough in my own
Fair enough.
skills, but a lot of people did, and it definitely saved time for them.
Mhm. Got it. That's helpful. Thanks. Anyone else want to add anything in terms of kind of getting around either city?
I mean, I would just say, like, I got a bike very late in the game. I was at Cambridge, and faculty, like history faculty, and there's where you'll have your supervisions and stuff, is like a 15-minute drive, not a drive, 15-minute walk from Pembroke, and just having a bike helps kind of ease everything. It can be like a bit of a learning curve, and I like recommend maybe spending a week getting used to like the fact that people drive on the other side of the road and like how traffic works, and get to know the streets a bit. And then if you feel comfortable, go for a bike, because it really will save you time. So it's definitely something you should think seriously about.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Allison, I got the sense did you want to say something?
Sure. Just, I was going to echo what Len said, and also, but Maddie said it great. Like, you don't always live in college, and your classes aren't always in college. So depending on what course you're in, you might be in different, like at Cambridge especially, there's like a part of Cambridge that has more of the humanities classes, and a part of Cambridge that has more of the like engineering classes. So different people might be in different parts of the city, and having a bike, especially if your classes are far away, is quite nice. And I had a bike and I loved it. And it definitely made it made me feel more proactive about leaving the dorm and going to things when I felt like I could get there in 5 minutes rather than 20 minutes. And it's like, it doesn't seem like a huge distance, but it's, at least for me, sort of like that mental distance between like living in the Quad and living in Plimpton or something like that. So yeah.
Okay, thanks for that. Actually, I realize I also have here, hang on, sorry. I've got a map for Cambridge as well. So there's Pembroke College kind of at the bottom, but very much in the center as well. Some of the iconic colleges like King's College, which is, one of the more photogenic ones, is right here. I mean, it's all, and here's the River Cam. I mean, so it's all very central. Yeah, anything else anyone wanted to add about that? Or? No? Okay. Okay, so let's see. I think we're going to move on to kind of talking about individual colleges for a bit. Krista, do you want to pick up there? And, Krista, did you want to switch to your computer so you have?
Yeah, do you want to do that?
Access? Yeah, let me just stop my share.
Okay.
All right, I'll let you pick up.
Okay, does everybody see it? Yes, okay. So we are going to give you a brief overview of each of the colleges, and we want to start with Mansfield. So here's a photo of what the campus itself looks like. As Giorgio pointed out, it's really important to make yourself aware of the courses which are offered at each of the colleges. So at Mansfield, you will notice that there are no hard sciences offered, but there are social sciences and humanities to choose from. So Mansfield has around 200 total students, and they accept around 35 to 40 visiting students. And Lan was kind enough to share on the left a photo from her room, and on the right a photo of the library. And Lan, can you tell us a little bit more about your experience? If you want to start with maybe sharing academically sort of what you studied and what it was like, and then maybe tell us a little bit about some of the social activities you got involved in while you were there. Oh, let me,
Oh, I might need to, hang on.
Thank you.
there she is. Okay, go ahead.
So I guess just generally academically, you might not have classes like with your college. And I only had, out of my 6 tutorials, I only had 1 tutorial that was with a tutor from my college. Otherwise, I went to either department offices to do my tutorials or elsewhere. Academically, they were very flexible. The visiting students director is super, super nice and super flexible. So I came into it thinking I was only going to do history, and then I ended up doing 2 English tutorials, 3 history tutorials, and an economics tutorial, and they were totally okay with it. The libraries are also really nice, and if you need a book, then you can just ask the library staff and they'll order it for you, and you can use that book. You also don't really need to buy any books yourself, because they'll cover it all for you and they'll have it in the library system. I spent most of my time actually not at college because my dorm was about 15 minutes away from college. And I was usually at either the history faculty or the economics faculty offices.
Okay, great. And then did you find any societies or clubs to join, or what was it like sort of meeting other students at Oxford for you?
Oh yeah, I purposely picked Mansfield because it had the most visiting students, and I knew that that was something that was important to me. And so the dorm I lived at is called, we all call it Dale, but on the form you'll see it as Ablethorpe. And in there, it's mostly second years and visiting students, and my floor had 2 second years and 5 visiting students, so we all became really close. And that was really nice. And so I didn't really care that much about societies. There are a lot of societies, but I didn't really care that much about them or join that many because I had this like really nice base of visiting students. We had a big group chat. We were always doing things together. And it's also really easy to meet other Oxford students as well.
Were there any traditions or like celebrations that you got to take part in specifically at Mansfield that maybe stood out from any of the other colleges?
I don't know if Mansfield has any specific Mansfield related traditions, but all colleges have BOPs, which are like, it depends on the amount of time, the frequency, but they're like dances essentially. And they're themed, costume themed dances, like it can be every 2 weeks, every week, every month, like however many times a quarter. We also got to celebrate Halfway Hall, which is like a formal dinner. Sorry, someone's like cutting the grass. It was Halfway Hall, which is like it's the halfway point for second years and also for visiting students. So it's like a really formal dinner. You sit in like a really nice dining hall, and you get to do that. I don't think there was anything else that was like Mansfield specific.
And then do you want to just mention anything related to the application process? I know we're going to talk more about this at the end, but do you have any general advice or tips that you want to share, what you think worked well for you?
Sure. I think I was really nervous because it's a whole year and that sounds like a really long time and a really long investment. And I didn't really start my application till a week before the deadline, and I had to ask Giorgio for an extension on my letters of recommendation, and I was kind of scrambling at the last minute to get it all done. So I guess one, it is possible, but don't do it. Like it was very stressful and it didn't need to be. It does feel like a longer commitment because it is a year, but I think it's so worth it, and you get so much out of it. Application wise, start early and find who your recommenders are going to be, or who's going to write your letters of recommendation early. And then also Krista and Giorgio will help you a lot along the way. So that's also really nice.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I'm going to keep going through the rest of the colleges, but we will, I'm sure, circle back to you at the end when we're talking more about sort of application details and if other questions come up. So the next college we're going to tell you just a little bit about is Pembroke College, Oxford. Again, easy to get confused because there's also Pembroke College, Cambridge. Right now we're talking about Oxford. It is one of our larger partners at Oxford. There's approximately 400 students at the college, and they accept 25 to 30. You'll notice that they do offer quite a few courses or subject areas. They are, I don't know if you would agree with this, Giorgio, I think they're fairly well known for their philosophy, politics, and economics course, PPE, which is quite a competitive course, but I'm pointing it out nonetheless because they're sort of known for it. Unfortunately, we don't have someone here with us that attended Pembroke last year, but if you go to that returned student list, you should be able to find at least one student who was there previously that you could reach out to if you're interested in hearing more from them. I was able to visit Pembroke, not this summer, the previous summer in 2019, and they did also emphasize to me that the colleges are really more similar than dissimilar. And certainly if you have friends at other colleges, you'll see them around and be able to meet up with them really easily. So that is Pembroke. Next up, we're going to talk about St. Peter's. St. Peter's is approximately 330 total students, and they accept around 17 visiting students. Our return student, her name is Anna. She couldn't attend today, but she did write up some of her advice and notes for us. She noted that she chose St. Peter's because she felt like it was a really tight-knit community known for being very friendly, and that her experience lived up to that. She felt like folks there were really friendly and welcoming. They have a fairly long list of courses for you to choose from. And that's St. Peter's. Great. Okay, so the next up is Oriole. Oriole College has around 300 total students and accepts about 5 visiting students. We don't want you to be too intimidated by that small number though, because we at Barnard do have a pretty good track record and a very long-standing partnership with Oriole College. Again, if you look on that returned student list, you will see a student who was there last year who would be happy to talk with you more. She did study one of the hard sciences at Oriole. So again, if you are looking to do that, she would be a great resource because it does look a bit different than it does at Barnard. And I did include a couple of extra pictures of Oriole because when I got to visit, they did show me on the left, they let me see one of their residence halls, one of their dorm rooms, which was really beautiful. A single room with a single bathroom and a really nice, I think they showed me the nicest one with like a beautiful window overlooking the courtyard. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see an example of one of their classrooms. Also really, really nice.
And just to reiterate, Krista, just to reiterate what Krista said, you know, they don't accept that many visiting students, but they only have a few partners, of which Barnard is one. So they don't, some of the larger visiting programs like the earlier colleges we mentioned will accept from a broader range of universities. So again, yeah, don't let that number intimidate you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, excuse me.
So, okay, so the next college we want to just mention to you is Corpus Christi College. Although we have a partnership with this college, they did inform us that next year they're not able to accept any visiting students, unfortunately. So we can't, we don't want you to apply to them because they're not accepting anyone, but we do have Elizabeth with us who attended Corpus Christi. And Elizabeth, do you want to tell us a little bit more about sort of what you studied, what your tutorials were like, and what your experience was like at Corpus Christi?
Yeah, so I was studying plastics at Corpus Christi, and part of the reason I chose Corpus to begin with was because it is exceptionally strong in plastics. I think they have like the largest percentage of their student body studying plastics out of all of the colleges, so that was something that was really exciting for me. And I had the majority of my tutorials in college with other Corpus students, which was really fun because I got to meet mostly 3rd and 4th years studying classics, but I got to study with other Oxford students, which was great. So I tended to have 2 to 3 tutorials per week and weekly essays. That I think that was really great. It really boosted my knowledge of my subject to be able to focus just on that one subject and have a year of doing that. I also took classes that met at the classics faculty, which were open to students from all colleges in the university. So I got to meet people from other colleges as well as Corpus, and they were larger classes that were more like a seminar style that you would get at Barnard. Oh, and another thing that was really valuable was one of my tutorials was a like one-on-one personal tutorial with one of the 6 tutors, and I was able to write a more extended research essay for that class, and she really like worked with me personally to develop my topic. So that was a really great experience just to have more time learning how to do personal research, which I think Oxford lends itself very well to.
Sure. And then how close were you living to college? Were you right on campus? Were you close by, or how far was it?
I was actually right in college, like within the 4 walls of the quad, which was great. I could like run out to the library at 2 a.m. and like not even need to go out on the street. But it also meant that I was very kind of plugged into all the social happenings within the college itself. So, you know, I could run out and have dinner in the hall very easily with friends.
Did you find that it was easy to meet people? Did you meet a lot of other visiting students or Oxford students or a mix?
Corpus takes very few visiting students, so there was only one other visitor, and he was from like University of Missouri or somewhere. So I felt more like I was actually a member of the college myself, and I mostly met other Oxford students rather than visiting students. So I think it's a different experience from what some of the other return students have described.
So did you get to do any of the formal dinners or the like balls that are hosted sometimes or anything like that?
Yeah, they had formal dinners every week that you could just sign up for. And so I went to a couple of those. They were really fun. You got to dress up with your friends, and then everyone usually went down to the beer cellar afterwards, which I think every college in Oxford has its own beer cellar, which is essentially a bar in college, but they have like a pool table and darts and things, and people go there not even to drink most of the time, just to like hang out. It's kind of the social center for undergrad students.
So one last question, which is, do you have any general advice looking back at your application experience? Any tips that you would offer to students who are looking to apply for next year?
I spent a lot of time looking at the website beforehand, and something, I guess for my essay actually, particularly the essay part of the application, I looked at the faculty members at Corpus and what their research interests were, and thought about how that related to things that I wanted to study, and I made sure to talk about that in my essay.
Did you end up studying those things, or did it sort of change once you got there?
I know I studied some of them for sure. I can't remember all of the areas that I talked about, but I definitely, things like Greek tragedy and reception, which Oxford is big for if there are any classics students listening. Oxford is very well known for reception studies in classics, and I did end up doing that, and that was great.
Great. Okay, thanks. Thank you so much. We will circle back to you in a few more slides. So we are going to move on to Pembroke College, Cambridge. In Cambridge. So the Pembroke College Cambridge program is a little bit different from Oxford because it is a 1-semester program. So you could choose to apply for the fall semester or the spring semester. In the fall, they do accept typically around 30 visiting students. Spring is a little bit bigger. They typically allow about 40 visiting students. I'm sure Giorgio is going to talk a little bit more about this, but we should note that obviously, Cambridge is ordinarily extremely competitive, and we have reason to believe that next year it may be even more so, because they did allow students who were accepted this year to defer to next year. So we don't know exactly how many slots are going to be available. So just take that into account as you're sort of narrowing down your decisions. So I do want to bring in Maddie and Allison if they can talk a little bit more about their experience at Pembroke. If you can tell us which semester you attended and what you studied and what it was like, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about the social side.
Allison, do you want to go, or I can?
Sure, I can start. So I went in the spring. I don't know, Krista, if this is not something that Barnard does specifically, but I actually did know a couple of people who were there the whole year. So theoretically, it is possible if you want to do the whole year at Cambridge to do that. Although most of the people do go just for 1 semester. I studied human, social, and political sciences there. I'm a poli-sci and human rights major at Barnard. I will also say though that the International Programs Office at Pembroke really wants students to not overload themselves with academics. And so they usually encourage students to only take 2 classes over the course of the semester, which for me at least ended up with like a very, very manageable workload. But also it means that depending on the course you're taking, like human, social, and political sciences is super interdisciplinary, and it incorporates anthropology, sociology, political science. But I ended up taking 1 history of politics class and 1 biological anthropology class. So it was like 2 super different things, and I didn't necessarily get like the same sort of well-rounded full understanding of like what the course would mean for full-time students, because I only took 2 classes. But academically, I was in 2 supervisions that were both one-on-one, just sort of by chance I was in one-on-one supervisions. And so what that meant is I didn't really make friends through academics per se, because we have the supervisions, and then separately you have lectures that accompany whatever course you're taking. But the lectures are generally like sort of very large lectures for all the students in that course. So personally, I didn't really make friends through academics, although some other people did. I guess, do you want me to go straight into like the social stuff, or are we gonna?
Yeah, maybe just for a minute, and then we can also hear from Maddie.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think different people definitely have different experiences socially there. Like if you want to just hang out only with the other international students, that's possible and common, I think, because everyone lives pretty much in they have specific dorms for the international programs students. So a lot of people do that, which is, it's actually kind of fun, like getting to know people from other schools in the US, even if they're not British students. And my experience was sort of mostly that, and also getting to know like Barnard and Columbia students who were also going there in the program. But it is also possible to get involved with societies and other clubs if you want to. A few people joined the Pembroke soccer team. I got involved with some music. I joined like some ad hoc orchestral concerts that were being put on, and some chamber music things that were happening. Although since things got cut short, I didn't end up getting to actually perform with the Cambridge Orchestra. But it's definitely an option if you want that. And similar to Oxford, there are also BOPs, which are the vibe that I got at Cambridge was sort of more like it is a dance, but it's more like a frat party vibe. Not like yeah, it's sort of a frat party vibe. But we also had formal dinners. At Pembroke College, Cambridge, they actually have formals every single night. So you theoretically could go every night, although usually I think people do it for special occasions or before like a night out or something like that. And they are really fun. They're like $15, and it's like a 4-course meal, and you wear your robes and everything is candlelit, and it's just really fun.
Great. Thanks. Maddie, can you tell us a little bit about what you studied?
Yeah, so I studied history, and like Allison, I had one-on-one supervisions for both terms. I absolutely love the system. For me, I'm doing an English minor and a psych minor, so I've always been doing like a bunch of different things like in my liberal arts education, and so the chance to pick one thing that I really liked and focus solely on it was amazing for me. And so like, I now know I want to go into history. I'm applying for grad school. I've like shifted my like sights there because like specifically because I was able to just work with history. And I appreciated so yeah, you take 2 courses or papers is what they call them. And I really appreciated that the time it gave me to actually, like if people have taken history classes, like you become a very good skimmer. And because they give you so much time, you can actually read like more detailed, with more detail than you would otherwise. And so I had a great, I had a great experience with the academic portion. And then I guess I can speak to the social. Yeah, so I I ended up falling in with a really close knit group of students, British students at Pembroke while I was there. There's definitely, like Allison said, you can very much like stay within your international student group. I feel like at any program, there's that. You can kind of, if there's enough of you, you can kind of stay within that group. Pembroke has a JP, which is their junior parlor. And they have, it's a cafe during the day, it's a bar at night. They have like a seating area and everything. That's a great place to get to know students. And I basically just was there every day and then like met people and got to know people by name. And then like I ended up falling in with a group I'm still actively involved in. We have a D&D campaign. I'm dating one of them. So it like obviously worked out very well for me. So yeah, I'd say that you can take it 2 different directions. In terms of the societies, I never ended up joining one. I had plans to join the country dancing society that they have, which I was very excited about, but obviously that didn't get to happen because of COVID. But it's definitely, if you don't want to even mess with the societies, there are so many at Cambridge, it's totally achievable to like focus really hard on your academics and your social life and have like a really nice balance. They don't allow you to do work when you eat in their hall, which I really like because then you actually like sit and eat and talk to the person across from you rather than like manically like typing on your laptop while you're like, you know, I don't know, eating your rice bowl at Diana or something like at Barnard. So there is a difference. So yeah, I had a great experience.
Really briefly, can you talk about what your housing was like? How
Sure.
close it was to your classes?
So there were 2 main groups of housing. Well, I think so, yeah. There's people who are on Fitzwilliam Street, which is very close to the college. And then there were people living in Bateman, which was a bit further. It wasn't, the like living situation was never like too far, was the impression I got from people living in Bateman. Like it was totally achievable. For Fitz, it was really nice. I was down the street from like a free museum, which was like catnip for a history major. So, and the housing itself, both Bateman, Fitz, or Little St. Mary's was another place, are all really nice. So you're living in a good area that has just like good amenities. Yeah, it's not a step down from Barnard.
Great. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna send it back to Giorgio. Giorgio, do you want to take over the PowerPoint, or do you want me to just leave it? You're muted.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was mute. Sorry. If you don't mind stopping your share, I'll pick up since I actually added a few things to mine.
Okay.
Oops. Okay, sorry. Just gonna bring it back to. It's not letting me. Hang on. Let me try that again. I don't know why. Here we go. It's letting me. Okay. I'm just going to move through. Sorry. Okay. So I'm aware of time, so I'll just breeze through this because I think all of our return students did a pretty good job of explaining a bit the academics and the extracurriculars. I do want to emphasize, though, the kind of the difference, the kind of uniqueness of the educational experience here, in that you're working in a very focused way on your particular subject, typically your major subject, right? So in the case of Oxford, you're doing a major tutorial in each term, and typically also a secondary tutorial. The major tutorial meets weekly. The second tutorial usually meets every other week. And you're writing papers for those tutorials for each meeting. And you're working either, in some cases, one-on-one with a faculty member or with 1 or 2 or maybe 3 other students. And you're really kind of honing in on what it is you want to focus on in terms of your papers. I think as Maddie noted in relation to Cambridge, right, it's a great way to really kind of go in depth, do research, particularly if you have any interest in the possibility of going to grad school. I think this is a great way to explore that. While you're doing that, you have the option of attending lectures, which are typically not mandatory, but you can kind of pick and choose depending on your focus, your topic, which lectures you attend. Also, depending on your subject area, there may be seminars or practical lessons. That's particularly true in the sciences, or say if you're studying a foreign language, that you would have other kind of more regular meetings with a larger group of students, or perhaps labs. We talked a bit, I think the students talked a bit about extracurriculars. Every single college has a junior common room. They often have a pub. I think we actually have an image here of a pub. Krista, was this Oriel College?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, right. So each college has a pub. There's also the possibility, I think some students mentioned, of going to the formal dinners, which is sort of like high table, where you're dining, again, sort of a very formal dinner with the other community members, including faculty at the college. And then there's the option of joining clubs, usually through the student union. And I think that's important because, and some of our return students can maybe verify this, but because you are working so independently, it's not as kind of social an experience on the academic side, so it's important to have some of these other outlets. I do want to spend some time talking about the application process and the requirements, so let me just touch on that and then we can open it up for questions. The requirements in the case of Oxford, there is an expectation that you have a minimum GPA of at least 3.7. Quite a few of our partners are very strict about that. They will not even review an application if you don't have that GPA. With a few of our partners, though, we have been able, let's say, you're just shy of that and you're, I don't know, majoring in English, but you took a hit on an organic chemistry course and didn't do so well on that. That's a situation that some of our partners will kind of be understanding and will review an application in that case. But that's kind of the general expectation. The expectation is that you have 2 years of college level coursework. So, and that includes, say, assuming you're, say, all in your second year, then that includes, say, the coming spring semester, right? So as long as you have that level of coursework by the time you are at Oxford or Cambridge, then you're fine. You're expected to have taken coursework, obviously, in your chosen subject, right? So they're going to want to see which courses you've taken, and they want you to address that in your essay. They are far less interested in your extracurriculars. They really are more focused on your academics. What courses have you taken? What would you like to study and research when you're there? As Krista mentioned, in the case of Oxford, all of our partners accept students only for the full academic year, right? So you have to be ready and willing to do that. The application process, in the case of Oxford, it's a little different than Cambridge in that we have an internal process. And the initial round of applications are due to our office for next year by Monday, December 7th. Okay, then there's a committee, an internal Barnard committee that reviews those applications. Those that are deemed to be, to meet the requirements are then passed on to the next round. We actually go back out to those students with some suggestions for strengthening the application. And then you would work on it and then resubmit it to us. And then we would send it to the relevant college, right? And the committee, while we allow you to choose between your top 2 colleges, the committee ultimately decides which college you're going to be applying to. Again, we will look at what is the best match in terms of your academic interests, but also where we have students in order to best maximize everyone's chances of getting it. So then there's that second round, and that's usually due in January, early February, depending on the college, since they all have different deadlines. What's required is an application form, which is on our website. If you go to the, and we've provided a link in the bottom left here. If you go to our approved programs list and go to England and then to Oxford University, you'll see that application link there. There's a lot of information in there about the colleges and in general about the application process, so you should definitely read that. And then the application form is at the very end of that document. One of the things we ask for there in that application form is to choose your 2 top colleges and write a brief paragraph for each. And so again, I think as our return students mentioned, it's a good idea to research the colleges, get on their website, particularly take a look at the courses, the subjects they offer, and what faculty are affiliated with the college and what they are working on. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you say, I want to work with this one faculty member or no one else, but it's good to get a sense of again, what the faculty are working on there. You also will submit an unofficial transcript from myBarnard. You can just download it. You would print out, again, from myBarnard or however else, a list of your current courses that you're taking this semester, as well as your planned courses for the spring. Because again, they want to know about all of the courses, particularly the ones in your subject area that you'll be taking. There is a one-page sort of statement in which you discuss the subject area that you want to study and why. And it's very important to go in depth on that. Again, citing the work you've already done. And they will ask for a writing sample. So you want to submit a writing sample to us that's been graded by a faculty member. And any comments you have, that's great. Okay, that's Oxford. It's kind of similar in the case of Cambridge, although again, you do not have to apply through Barnard for this. You would apply directly to Cambridge. Note here though that their minimum GPA is actually even slightly higher, 3.75. And also one important difference, you can study there, as Krista mentioned, for just 1 semester, either the fall or the spring. It is also possible to go for the full academic year, so that's another option. If you look at the deadlines on the Pembroke College Cambridge site, they actually are they post kind of late deadlines, but in fact, they will fill up well before that. So you want to apply in January, February, whether you're applying for the fall or the spring, okay? Even though there's no internal process at Barnard, Chris and I are more than happy to review your application, to give you feedback before you submit it, so feel free to do that. There's an online application on the Pembroke site. Like with Oxford, they require 2 faculty recommendations. In this case, you need to submit an official transcript, which you can order from the registrar, and they want 2 writing samples, again, graded and with comments. I think that's all on the, oops, trying to stop the share. Okay.